aviator indeed. It's just getting airborne now on the far right-hand side. You can see it doesn't make a massive presence. It's quite gentle, and this one is unique, as Ben and I have described, because of its mark and the fact that it has fitted cowlings all the way around it. I call it the Slick. Normally when you call it Slick you expect fast, but this one, despite having only a 200 horsepower Franklin engine, actually does fly quicker than many of the G4s that have got the Lycoming engines in them. Now, given its underpowered nature, unsurprisingly, the display you're going to see is relatively benign, in that it will be limited to hover work, a few wing overs. But this aircraft celebrates its 70th birthday this year, would you believe? Absolutely extraordinary. This one is a 1955 H1. The Bell 47 range itself first took flight in December 1945. And although there was a run of 5,000, there's still an exceptional number of these Bell 47s flying in the world, well over 1,000 of them. Unsurprisingly, being an American derivative, a huge number of them still in the States. So Rich now is starting to put it through its paces, just coming through a teardrop, and then he'll go into a very gentle pattern from left to right, from teardrop to just gentle wing overs before going into some hover work. Designed by Arthur Young, and essentially I think the theme was in those days very much as the development of drone taxis, which are being developed today, very much being thought of in its heyday as something that could possibly reduce traffic congestion during the course of the 50s. Very economic to run, unusual in many respects to still see piston engine helicopters in the world, but that in its own right. And the other peculiarity which makes the Bell 47 a little more demanding to fly is that it has a twist grip power on the collective, which today of course is replaced on modern helicopters with just one hand, where you just lift, and as the blades rotate, the power comes on at the same time. You need lots of hands and legs, of course, operating in different dimensions when you're flying a helicopter as well. It requires a great deal of agility and skill, particularly if you're a solo pilot, holding it in the hover whilst perhaps undertaking some military reconnaissance work can be very tricky. Very tricky also to, depending on the wind conditions. So these would have operated relatively close to the ground in the G4 version of this particular series of aircraft. They would have been attached to many of the British tank squadrons throughout the course of the mid-60s right through until the late 70s. 33 of these were actually built, 8 of this H1 variant still flying today. And the panels certainly do make it a lot less draggy. You can imagine that you would normally see a very open tail section on the majority of G4 aircraft you see in this country. But this one, as I mentioned earlier on, a little bit slick and therefore quite sporty given the low power that it develops. I mentioned Rich Pillans, a hugely talented aviator. His main day job is a lead-in to developing the very important Ministry of Defence Wedgetail project. He's got a whole series of other aircraft in his logbook as well, however, but he's got a passion for encouraging youngsters to get involved in heritage aircraft, to develop their interests and skills with a view to getting involved in modern companies such as Boeing, who he is employed by. He therefore takes his helicopter on a number of visits to various schools and teams up in his own role with other Boeing STEM ambassadors to provide an experience. aircraft had been fitted with the GPMG. Well, in the military format, of course, many of you sitting here today will remember the famous MASH program, which I think cemented the Bell 47 in the minds of many of us, and particularly in the medevac role. But it was also used for artillery air observation, and that is a constant factor in the and nature of the aircraft you're flying today is still one of the most important roles in military aviation. So you could, of course, still use that skill in civilian world as well, as this would be done as Rich transits through a bit of a rearwards transition there to bring him back into crowd centre towards the end of his display now. He'll shortly pull up and give you a bit of a nod, and it's a great chance for you all to give him a wave as well. The pilots often don't get the chance to see the appreciation, which a limited machine to operate in, but in extremely talented hands today. And there we are, safely back to his spot.